Dear viewers, in his address, the auditorium of General Headquarters GHQ Rawalpindi on November 23rd, the Chief of Army Staff, General Qamar Jawad Bajwa, he said that the loss of East Pakistan, December 1971, was the outcome of a political and not a military defeat. Now, his assertion, basically it led to a huge controversy, not only in Pakistan but also in Bangladesh and elsewhere, that the disintegration of Pakistan, the emergence of Bangladesh in 1971, was it the result of a military defeat or a political defeat? General Bajwa, he ruled out military defeat and he said that it was basically a political defeat. So let's analyze the dynamics of military defeat and political defeat. Military defeat is a defeat in which armed forces of a certain country surrender before the adversary. So the surrender takes place, which is termed as a defeat, like the Second World War, like the First World War, and in other wars. Political defeat basically means when the political leadership is unable to manage a crisis and it results into a fiasco. Now, in 1971, who was in power? There was a military government of General Yahya Khan. There was martial law in the whole of Pakistan. And then, of course, the military operation called as Operation Searchlight was launched the night of March 25th and 26th, 1971, when negotiations collapsed between the Awami League, the government and the Pakistan People's Party. So it was a military government, it was martial law, and then the military operation which continued for 9 months and culminated in a surrender of Pakistani armed forces in racecourse grounds in Dhaka on December 16th, 1971, before the joint command of Indian Army and Mukti Bahini. A Bangladeshi general, a Bangladeshi journalist, Badrul Ehsan, he has written that commenting on what General Bajwa said, he said that it was basically distortion of facts, because certainly Pakistan had lost the war. It was a military defeat. There was a surrender which took place. So how can one say that it was a political defeat? Now, it was basically mismanagement of a crisis, which was a political crisis. 1970 elections, December 1970 elections, which took place, in which the majority party was Awami League, secured 162 seats out of 300, clear majority. Mr. Bhutto's Pakistan People's Party got 81 seats out of 300. So who was in majority? It was Awami League. But then the circumstances, the events which took place after the elections, in which the National Assembly session was postponed, which was scheduled to be held on March 3rd, 1971. So the perception that it was a political defeat is correct to some extent, absolutely, and not a political defeat. The mismanagement of a political crisis, that there was one country and there were two aspirants, and if there was one country, then the party which had secured majority of seats in National Assembly should have been invited to form the government. That's democracy. It didn't happen in 1971. And then, of course, preparations were going on all the way from January, February to launch military operation in order to crush Awami League, because Yahya Khan, the president of Pakistan, was angry with Sheikh Mujibur Rehman. He invited Sheikh Mujibur Rehman, leader of majority party, to visit Islamabad twice. and Mujib, he rejected that offer. One pretext, another pretext, one excuse, another excuse. So Yahya Khan was very angry with Sheikh Mujibur Rehman, but that was not the way. And then, of course, what sort of a relationship it was, that whenever Yahya Khan used to visit Dhaka, Sheikh Mujib used to meet him in presidential house. He was summoned the president's house. Yahya Khan never ever visited the house of Sheikh Mujibur Rehman, but he went to Al Murtaza, the house of Zulfiqar Ali Bhutto, in January 1971, when talks were going on between Mr. Bhutto and Sheikh Mujibur Rehman. So what has happened, but the fact is basically that after 51 years to open a Pandora's box and then to argue that it was a military defeat. I'm not arguing what happened and how it happened, because that's history. And certainly Major General Raw Farman Ali, who was basically a very important figure in the then East Pakistan, in the martial law government, in his book How Pakistan Got Divided, has squarely blamed West Pakistan, GHQ, that it was GHQ which compelled General Niazi to surrender. What sort of a political defeat? Because the regime at that time was a military regime, was a martial law government. And one can blame, of course, Zulfiqar Ali Bhutto, that why didn't he agree to sit in opposition? 81 seats only out of 300. Why he was trying to bargain with Sheikh Mujibur Rehman that I should be appointed as a foreign minister or as vice president? So therefore, what is needed is, what is required is to primarily go for the truth, and truth must not be concealed. It is not that correct that if someone says before audience in Rawalpindi, if you argue all such things at the international forum outside Pakistan, then it will make sense. Say it over there. Say it at the International Institute of Strategic Studies. Say it as far as the US Institute of Peace is concerned. Say it as far as other think tanks are concerned. Then you will get the response accordingly. To say all such things within your own audience, it's no big deal, because Pakistan has suffered a lot as a result of a mindset, as a result of a policy, as a result of to conceal facts. Even now, more than 70 years have passed. Who killed Yahya Khan? Right? Why martial law was imposed in 1958, the first martial law, the second martial law 1969, the third martial law 1977, and then the military takeover in October 1999. What about the Ojri camp disaster in April 1988, which killed several hundred people over in Rawalpindi, in the garrison city? What about the Kargil fiasco? What about Operation Jerimino, Abbottabad, when the American Navy SEALs in their helicopters encroached into the sovereignty of Pakistan to arrest and then he was killed, Osama bin Laden. So therefore, I think it is high time that the leadership of Pakistan, whether it is civilian leadership or a military leadership, must be pragmatic, must not conceal facts. So therefore, Bangladesh is far ahead than Pakistan. Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. Is ahead of Pakistan in many areas, in human security, in economy, and in other fields. And where is Pakistan today? And this is primarily the result of concealing truth. And certainly, what sort of a policy it was to impose one's writ militarily on 75 million people of East Pakistan by force. A lot has been written, a lot has been said what had happened during the military operation. So you don't, and this is unfortunately the narrative which since last several years the military establishment is trying to build, and agreed that from March 1st till March 26th, when there was a sort of a civil war in East Pakistan after the postponement of the National Assembly session, that hundreds and thousands of non-Bengalis were killed. That is true. That is true. But when men in uniform are given orders to launch an operation against their own people, that is, I think, unpardonable. Thank you very much.